Yo, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Oh man, we got a lot to talk about, guys. What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Yo, what is good? Let's bring it all in. Are we all good? Check, everything's good. Yeah, happy days. What's happening, guys? All right then, so today's topic. I mean, who the hell is that? Don't be contacting me. The digital dollar. But listen, yeah, the digital dollar looks like it's on its way, but we just need to have a look at what's actually going on. According to Cathie Wood, who is the fund manager of the big portfolio of ARK, says that Wall Street ain't going to touch crypto. Why not? Well, there's a little bit of a contradiction there. She's saying Wall Street won't touch crypto, yet she's now picking up more crypto given that Grayscale's ETF trust is now at a 42% discount. So which is it, Cathie? Wall Street won't touch it? Now, I understand what she means by Wall Street won't touch it, because quite frankly, given with what's going on with Sam Bankman-fried and the whole palaver that's happening with FTX, we've got a little bit of, we need to be very cautious. You have got Genesis going crazy with all these withdrawals, abnormal withdrawals are being made across exchanges. People just don't trust it at all. And this is the sad truth about it. Now, if we look at things outside of the box, we can then turn around to ourselves and say to ourselves, look, if the idea of a digital dollar is coming, then decentralization for cryptocurrency is out the window. So the only way that cryptocurrency can be saved is if you install the idea of centralization, because that's what people are used to, okay? Cryptocurrency is a very speculative investment. It is crazy. You get mad volatility across the board. And Bitcoin is that asset. It can go up, it can go down, and it can be aggressive at the same time. All right? So when we understand that Wall Street won't touch crypto, given with this saga that's happened with Sam, all right, investors in Wall Street will need super regulation. Now, where will that regulation take crypto? Where will that take Bitcoin? Will Bitcoin's reaction be going even further to the downside? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? But we've got to admit that even with FTX's books don't even look so good, that's going to be a bit of a problem for us, trying to induce investors to believe in the idea of cryptocurrency. As I said to you a couple of days ago, in the sense where, is your crypto safe? If you don't have a hard wallet or a ledger or Trezor, whatever you use, and store your keys on there for your coins, you're leaving it exposed. And this story with FTX, I know we bang on about it, but it's a lesson that can be learned in the crypto space. At the same time, you want endorsement, you want mass, how can I put it to you? If you want the masses to be engrossed in the idea of cryptocurrency, well, now headlines are being said that, you know, cryptocurrency firm FTX bankrupt. Well, what's that going to look like on the average Joe who's looking to get involved in cryptocurrency? He ain't going to put his money in crypto, ladies and gentlemen. Unless crypto gets cheap enough and there's regulation in place, then we'll have a little bit of a smoother route and move with cryptocurrency. We've got to also consider what's going on around the world right now, especially with the US and the UK. The UK are tipped to say that house prices are looking to drop around 20% because of the borrowing costs on mortgages. The UK is now at a 41-year high for inflation. That is crazy. There's no money to be made when situations are like this. Or should I say, no money can be really borrowed because of how expensive it is to even get a mortgage in the UK. All right? We've got other things that we can talk about as well, ladies and gentlemen. The idea that if the value of the dollar starts to move back up right now, and that the market in principle starts to really accept the fact that maybe the Fed will look to increase interest rates, even if we have had a little bit of a succession in the inflation reducing. Well, look at what happened today's news announcements. Okay, sales have gone up, But that's only because of the high wages that people are getting in the US labor market. The labor market needs to cool off. And these are the number of things that need to happen before we can get inflation down to that 2% target. Bitcoin today is taking a tumble yet again, ladies and gentlemen. And it is a bit of a sad sight to see that Bitcoin now is starting to trade to its own. The story of FTX right now is leading Bitcoin to go lower. We might not talk about, I mean, no one's really talking about the idea that Sam, as much as he's running around trying to get investment to save FTX, he's even suggesting to regulators the idea of an algorithm that is solely exclusive for futures trading, which means it cuts out the middleman. Now, heavyweights like JP Morgan and all the guys who run these exchanges in conventional markets like legacy markets, like NASDAQ, foreign exchange, they'll be out of a job if this practice gets put into play. And that ain't going to be too good. Like, you've done the damage now, Sam. That's cool. But don't come out with a great plan that's going to cut out the idea of the middleman and endorse the idea of decentralization. FTT, which is the ticker symbol for FTX, has been delisted off Binance. So it's not looking good. The only thing that is left is Sam's credibility at enforcing the idea to his investors how he's going to get his money back. And if he can't get the money back, what happens? Jail time? At the end of the day, he can serve whatever time he can serve. But let's be honest, the money's still gone. And that's the problem with cryptocurrency. There's no fail-safes. Let's get to the charts, ladies and gentlemen. All right, then. Are we good? All right, then. So let's just have a look at what is actually happening across the board. I'm looking at my charts. I can see some movement all over the place. Bitcoin. Rejection of that psychological high, guys. It's not really a good sight given the fact that if Bitcoin sustains this move lower, guys, the only place that it can move towards is the green vector candle zone. All right? We had news out today regarding the sales, retail sales, which has had a positive impact on the dollar. It's moved up ever so slightly, and it looks like it's holding inside of this zone. Now, if we go into higher time frames on the dominance of the dollar, we understand that if the dollar goes up, Bitcoin has a problem moving higher. But the dominance of the dollar has been dropping, yet Bitcoin has also been dropping as well, suggesting that Bitcoin right now is moving in its own accord. Now, we've been waiting for Bitcoin to do this sort of behavior, to move away from the idea of following the S&P and the NASDAQ and the dominance of the dollar. But right now, you can see that the dominance of the dollar is going down, going up. Bitcoin's going down. I mean, the best gauge to understand where we are is gold, because gold has been doing very well. Investors have been turning to commodities. But now that gold is starting to pull back ever so slightly, we would likely expect them to come inside of this region right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is important. We've had non-stop movement to the upside. The NASDAQ and the S&P have been moving up aggressively, and we are now waiting for them to start to roll over to bank in some of these gains, okay? If you look at the higher time frames, you can see on the daily itself, NASDAQ's doing great. But now it's starting to pull back ever so slightly. I would expect it to regulate inside of this zone. All right? We had one of the FOMC speakers yesterday talking about the idea that it's still too soon to assume that the Fed will hike the rates, not be so aggressive with the rate hikes. He came across the idea that we need to see more data to come in to suggest that inflation itself is actually going to pull back. But there has to be a reduction in unemployment, an increase in unemployment. There has to be a slowdown in sales for us to really get the idea of inflation being able to come down. Now, with this speaker himself, when he's suggesting that, and then you cross-reference that to Bernard, when she was talking about the likelihood of the Fed slowing down on the interest rates, they both have one thing in common. They all rely on the data. All right? So if the data is going to suggest that inflation should be coming down by December, maybe because rate traders are now looking at the idea that there's a 71% chance that we're going to go into a 0.5 increase on the interest rates. But we have news announcements that are coming out. We've got more data coming out until that point, which can completely switch the narrative and then go back to 75 basis points. I know you've heard words on the street about Powell wants to just wreck the stock market and what have you. Well, let's just look at the bigger picture right now. We got this one green vector candle on the NASDAQ, and we've still got zones right here that we could anticipate them to come into. These little rallies in a bear market don't last for long. Look at this move. Stop hunt rise, drop, stop hunt rise, drop. All they're doing is seeking stops, okay? I mean, look, it's just a sad sight for Bitcoin. And it is sad, but there's too much hype around cryptocurrency right now. There's not enough for people to buy. And when I say that, the idea of Bitcoin being cheaper, all right, to get the retail trader to step in, well, look, like 16.5K is still not cheap, okay? And you're hearing about people now talking about the idea Bitcoin could actually go even further. I mean, if you look in the chart, you can see where the vector candle zones reside. This FTX story has been the smack off, in my opinion. It's been the catalyst to get people to come away from cryptocurrency, because I truly believe that that's the intention. Get rid of people's idea of cryptocurrency, then the government can introduce a dollar, a digital dollar. Now, big banks like HSBC, MasterCard, they're all going through a trial right now talking about the idea, 12-week trial, about testing the narrative of a digital dollar. Well, let's be honest. There's a Japanese yen, a digital yen, already out. Okay? So there's now going to be this battle between the digital dollar and the digital yen. Who's going to win? Okay? But in my honest opinion, guys, I believe Bitcoin would need to take an absolute bleed before we can actually restore confidence in cryptocurrency. Because if Bitcoin can hold it, with regards to whatever's happening across the board, then we might stand a chance in the cryptocurrency game. I truly believe cryptocurrency will not ever become decentralized. That's my opinion. I might spike a bit of an interest there where people will challenge it, but quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it is. Because if you have now Sam trying to go to regulators for a bailout and suggesting other plans, what's the point? There has to be regulation before we can get big money coming into cryptocurrency. It was all the fad not so long ago when Bitcoin hit that 67 zone. Happy days. But it wasn't enough for Wall Street. Okay? There must have been someone that knew something. I mean, look, we even had the Super Bowl. Cryptocurrency was hosting it, man. And now look at where we are. We've got bankruptcies coming out. People just pump and dumps. It's a sad place in cryptocurrency right now. And how do you restore order? You introduce a digital dollar. Who does it? The big banks, the government. It's the only way you can restore it. Will there be a cryptocurrency coin that succeeds Bitcoin? Who knows? Will a stable coin succeed Bitcoin in the sense where the reliability and the safety? Because it's the idea that they need to get into people's minds. The idea. I don't care what value of Bitcoin is. It's the idea. If I can get Steve, Tom, Dave, and Sam to all agree that they're happy to invest in cryptocurrency because of regulations, that's it. We've won. Just get enough people to talk about it, and then it becomes common knowledge and common practice. Happy days. I'm always going to question it, guys. Frankly, I don't care, because as a trader, I don't care about the price of Bitcoin. I don't care about what's going on behind Bitcoin. To some degree, I do. Now, if Bitcoin was to completely bleed out all the way down to like $1,000 a coin, then we've got ourselves a problem, ladies and gentlemen. All the guys that were like, yeah, I picked up loads of Bitcoin at 10 cents. Yeah, $1,000. Okay, you're doing all right. But in the back of your mind, Bitcoin went to 67K. And if you didn't do anything about Bitcoin at 67K and you picked it up from about, I don't know, 10 cents, 20, even $100, that ain't even diamond hands, ladies and gentlemen. That's like magma, you know? Yes, the whole point is decentralization. Decentralization. Yes, it is. But it just goes to show that decentralization is not sustainable. Because back when decentralization was being endorsed, cryptocurrency wasn't big enough. Now we got money in cryptocurrency. It goes to show that things ain't kicking as well. We need regulation. You can see what's going on. The NFT saga. Look what happened there. Look at Luna, FTX. You got I get notifications nonstop about exchanges withholding withdrawals, stopping all withdrawals. Like, what is that? That's just taking away confidence, man. People are worried about their money. Let's have a look at what else is going on across the board, guys, and then I'll let you guys be. Let's look at Ethereum for a second. Here we go. Ethereum trading aggressively lower, working its way towards that vector candle region right here. Nice little play right there that we shared this morning. Awesome play right there for Ethereum, breaking away from the psychological low, which is a bit of an indication that they are favoring lower prices. We might get a little bit of a retrace, but I just think it's just going to be a follow through and continue lower. EURUSD holding out at the highs, but we are very extended to the upside, so we would expect EURUSD to try and roll over at some point. Okay, looking at dollar yen, again, that's going down. Aussie yen is going down. USDCAD coming back, but moving to the upside ever so slightly. Gold as well going down. We've got Tesla trading lower as well. There's a gap in Tesla that we would need to see price come back and fill at that point. Investors are getting a little bit concerned with Elon's time that he's spending with Twitter, with this non-stop working 24 hours at Twitter. Investors at Tesla are getting a little bit concerned about his work ethic. All right, S&P itself down 31.31% for the day. NASDAQ is always going to be a little bit more volatile in the charts, ladies and gentlemen. You just got to remember that. But you can see that it's trying to work this zone. Recovery of the wicks right here. If NASDAQ does breach this region, ladies and gentlemen, and goes beyond, in my opinion, if it breaks beyond the 11,641 zone, then we would expect it to start making a rundown lower because we haven't had a corrective move in the NASDAQ just yet. Rolling over to the yields. Yields are going down. What's the story? Why is everything going down? If the yields are going down, that only means that investors are picking up bonds. That means they're picking up debt. That means NASDAQ should be moving up. Is this the stop hunt? Is this where we formulate the low for the day for them to try and come back up? It all depends on how aggressive they decide to move in the charts. Looking at the time, the markets are now open, and you can see how NASDAQ's behaving. It's getting very choppy in the charts. Looking at Bitcoin going down. Oh, it's starting to come back up ever so slightly, but you can see what the behavior is. Drop, retrace, drop, retrace, drop, retrace. They're not giving it a chance to move. They're trending lower. All right? So we've got to be really mindful of that. USDT creeping up slowly. Again, got a vector candle point right here that we've got to be careful of. Let's have a look at all the liquidations in Bitcoin right now. I mean, look at that. That is despicable, ladies and gentlemen. They narrowly missed. Let's just check this out. They narrowly missed $10,341,200 worth of long liquidations at the 16,475 zone. So that liquidity is still active right now. Let me just go into the higher time frames and put things into perspective. Here we go. Okay. All right, there we are. I mean, look, this is what we got. $4,289,000,000 worth of long liquidations at 15,150. Above that, 15,200, we got $4,140,000,000 worth of long liquidations. I ain't even included all of these bad boys right here. So we could have about $50-60 billion worth of long liquidations right there. If we go to the monthly chart, we'll see exactly what's going on there. Here we go. Look, there's hardly any liquidity down below, but we've got 11 billion down here. Above that, we got 2, and above that, we got 4. Yeah, so look, they've already eaten the liquidity, and shorts are sitting nicely given that funding rates are negative right now. So they're happy to pay that. But how long is it going to be? That's the question. When will it decide to turn? Okay? Moving forward, guys, given that we have now got the Brinks box forming at the lows and we have seen a little bit of activity, just be mindful of the fact that Bitcoin could actually initiate a reversal back up. All right. And if it can breach beyond the psychological low, happy days. Going to the 1 hour time frame, you've got to be mindful of the fact that the 5 and 13 EMA are currently pointing downwards. Okay. So you've got to be very careful because the mood is set that the trend is pointing lower. You need to see the 5 and 13 cross over for an adjustment in the trend. And right now, you can see that Bitcoin, in principle, has got a lot of liquidity down here that they could take. So just be cautious with that, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on with that information, guys, listen, we're going into Wednesday today. It's usually a midweek reversal in Forex. Cryptocurrency can sometimes do it as well. All right. Tomorrow, we've got news announcements coming out. I'll get that yet. We've got more news announcements coming out tomorrow. So it's going to be a busy time in the marketplace as well. And remember, it's short-term interest. For every move that happens to the upside, take your profit and then get ready for the retrace and then play the game again. There's no point in leaving trades in for too long. Okay? Remember that. And the longer you actually maintain that mindset, the longer you're going to stand the chance in this game of trading. Always pay yourselves. Now, looking at Bitcoin, yes, the green vector candle resides around the 16K zone. By the principle of whole and half numbers, be very cautious because we are right now at the half number, which is 16,500. You've got to try and understand if they're trying to build shorts or build longs. And I'm talking about the market maker. Do people believe it's going to go lower? The liquidity is down below. And it's in the New York session today, when London closes, where we will know exactly what the whole point of today will be, if they will react accordingly to the news that came out today regarding retail sales. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, hit the like button, subscribe. It works with the algorithm. Spread the word of the pattern watchers. If you want to learn more about the hybrid, check out the Patreon pinned to the top of the chat. Mad love and respect, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed today. I've been stuttering left, right, and center. Bit of a mad day for me, but it's all love. Take care of yourselves, gang. Peace.